Legit, Rob? Are we live yet?
We are because I didn't know what you're
Perfect.
about to say. I
This
want
is
it
the
to
content
be.
we're looking for.
I had a. I may have had a visitor who was napping in my bed while we recorded last time.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, fantastic! We
that's why I
actually
had the door closed because I was like, she's legit just gonna 100%. If I had the door open, she would walk past on purpose. Just to be like, hey, a nerd's getting late, everybody. Yeah,
was it. I
the
love
internet
that.
stopped.
there was
We
much rejoicing.
we talked about Warhammer first dates yesterday, but I'm happy to cover it again. But before we do that, hello, welcome to this Wargamer. I'm your host Rob. Welcome to Stream Street Day 133 on the 40k adjacent show. It is a mixture of people, as you can
I didn't like.
see.
All
I didn't
Oh,
like
go
it
on.
going.
Well, as you can see, we're joined by the newly fathered. No, that's not right. The new father. That's right. Mr. Val Heffelfinger. And the Falcon is not well today. He flew too close to the sun on his fireside with the Falcon last night. But we're joined by the wonderful Adam Camilleri, who is down here again. So thank you for coming on. But welcome to both of you.
No, welcome to you, Rob.
yes,
Welcome,
Rob. The colonies are represented well. We have the mother hen and the baby chickens.
ladies and gentlemen. We've got three different time zones, three different continents, a northern and a
Yeah.
southern hemisphere, um,
Uh,
a dad, and two guys with beards.
Well,
and it's
and it sounds like maybe a soon-to-be dad with Adam, and then
Oh,
uh, definitely an illegitimate father. I've been to several children, but that's why I keep changing my name. Just keep rolling. No one knows.
So apparently it's Scott B underscore underscore's birthday today. I have to say I'm honored to share my birthday with the 40k Jason show.
Oh, Scott B. Scott B, by the way, a graphic designer and I think also a UI expert, or at least like as much as anyone is, unlike Games Workshop. And he's had some choice words on the new app, which has been really fun. Before we do anything, Val, you've had a child. Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. I would also point out Scott B shares a birthday with Mama Hef. My mom's birthday today.
Oh,
Uh, or 1946. What does that make her? 70, 74?
54, 74.
46.
Yeah, 74.
Yeah.
74. Yeah, there you go. Happy birthday, Mom. And B underscore something. Yeah, and that's fucking tragedy. That's so fucking.
I also really respect Val's baby post baby look. Like beforehand, he was like, "Hair is my hair on point? Yeah, what's going on? How's my background?" Now he's like, "I've got a giant mug of coffee. Yeah, some morning shadow."
The mug has always been there, but it's just because and don't forget the porridge, everybody. It's just because the mustache is gone.
It's
Oh,
compensating.
oh yeah, it is. Why did it have to go? Some sort of like, do children think it's a slug? What's the situation?
In Canada, we have this concept called a playoff beard. So, like, you'll notice all the hockey players when they're like in the playoffs at the end of the year, they all have like beards that they grow from the start to the end.
Hmm.
And so when I started growing the mustache in my mind, it was a dad stash, and then I would shave it once the baby was actually born. And so then one day, and then so I was shaving 2 days after young Heffelfinger got here, and I just shaved without telling my wife. I came down the stairs, and she started to cry.
In beauty or in sadness?
She said, "I don't know why I'm crying." I'm like, "You probably got a lot of hormones and stuff," but it
Yeah.
was really cute / funny.
Well, I mean, I'm sure people would love to. Could we at least know the name of said young hef?
John Valford.
Oh, John Valford. There we go. John Valford. I can't even say his actual. Well, he's got an acronym, which is my favourite thing to sometimes shout when you message me now in the morning. But
JVP.
I'm like JVP. Like I'm like.
Yeah,
I'm
it
a
works
big,
well.
yeah, I'm a big fan of JVP.
Yeah,
But go on,
Valford
after you.
comes from Val comes from Valford, which is my middle name and my grandfather's name. So it's an actual name. It is one of my names.
Valford.
I initially thought you were taking the piss, but nah, it's a real name and it's good. I like it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
A
for
lot
real.
of a lot of panache, a lot of character in that name.
I used to sort of have this idea in my head that if I had an evil alter ego, I would go by Val. And so when I was picking a fake name for the internet, I was like, this is my chance.
I just love that only you and Steve Pamprine decided of all the players in the entire world were like, I really need a moniker. I really need an alter ego for this thing.
Stephen Pamprine isn't a moniker.
No, but Bilbo Baggins or whatever he uses on ITC scores is.
That's right. Yes. Okay. Yes. Old Bilbo.
Well, an incredibly cute thing happened. Hello, everyone, by the way, to the Twitch chat. Big love to you guys. Podcast guys, also stay hydrated. There was a really cute thing happened just before we came on air. It turns out you both are wearing each other's ETC T-shirts. Is that correct?
That's right. 2018.
Yes. And neither of us discussed it or lined it up or anything. I was going to surprise him by saying, hey, Val, I'm wearing your shirt. And he surprised me by being like, hey, Adam, I'm wearing your shirt.
Which is super sweet. That's super sweet.
It was pretty cute.
It is adorable. Adam and I were fast friends when we met on the floor of, I don't even know where we were. I blacked out.
Zagreb, Croatia.
There you go. Yeah, we were fast friends. The rambling Australian team with their shopping cart that they'd stolen from next to it. I think they were also living in it. And they were doing
it was mostly full of beer for the whole weekend, and when it wasn't full of beer, Simon was trying to record his games with it. But yeah, the other boys were just like packing it full of 6-packs the whole way through.
Yeah. I don't know. It was the worst 3 days of my life. I mean, I've lived a really good life, so that's probably why. But good Lord, it was uncomfortable.
Well,
as the line at Half Baked goes, have you ever run backwards naked through a cornfield?
No, but sometimes
I'm not familiar with that one either.
Sometimes, in order to be joyous, I run through fields of wheat, which is an English political reference. You might not know that. Our old Prime Minister was asked how she unwinds and relaxes, and she said sometimes she likes to run through fields of wheat, in what can only be described as, she obviously couldn't say that she murders children and eats them. Which is the truth. No. I can't even remember what her name was.
Theresa May?
One. Yeah, that one.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Canada had a short-lived female prime minister named Kim Campbell in the early 90s. And she's our only female prime minister of all time. And she was literally... she was the deputy PM, which is literally a no job. Like, it's not having a job in the government. And the prime minister at the time was incredibly unpopular. And he was just like, well, I'm out, and like handed her the job. And then she was the first female prime minister of all time and suffered the worst electoral defeat of a sitting government ever in Canada. So that was nice.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Some interesting facts. I'm going to bring it back around, I think, to...
Where are we going?
Well, since you've been gone, and also, Adam, I'd like to know how have you been, Adam? Have you been well?
I've been really well, yeah. I've been sitting down too much, which is the only issue. Trying to stay fit when all I'm doing is just sitting and working from home 9 to 5 in front of a computer. It's rough.
It's hard. It's really hard. Some people, I know our very own John Scrivens has ended up buying himself a gym membership and is going to get buff, which I'm very excited about. He told me today he's going to be. But since you've been gone, Val, a lot's happened in the world of 40k, which I know some people would be interested. Now, I know by this point it's old news as it's Tuesday, but nay, 4 days ago, the Games Workshop launched their much touted 40k app.
Is this the first show since?
No, I mean, we talked about it on Saturday, and you can't not get asked the question.
First real show, the adjacent show. This is the first adjacent show since that.
The first adjacent show. And to be honest, I would love to know, obviously, what you both think. I guess.
Fucking heartbroken, man. Like, it sucks. I just don't. I'm beside myself. There's so many things. I feel like the core rules, was just like, this is gonna be the best. Like, they did it. They have their shit together. The core rules are so tight. At least they're formatted well. There's no spelling mistakes. It's like a home run. And And then they just started pissing their pants. They just shit themselves at every stage. Since then, they have released like the points, I think, are kind of lazy. They have like a GT pack, which is basically the rule book. And also, I'm pretty sure I don't have it yet, but you don't need to buy the rule book if you bought chapter approved. It's got the rules that you need in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the app is just, it's pathetic, man. Like, it's brutal. Like, why would you launch that?
I've got a
You press go.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that management wrote some checks the app design team couldn't cash, and yeah, well, I've got a little background knowledge, little tidbits I hear here and there from behind the scenes. Like, so I'm not surprised this is what happened from some stuff, some knowledge that dripped down to me, but mostly due to COVID. Like, I think if COVID hadn't happened, we probably would have got a better product. I'm not sure how much better. But I can only honestly say there was a definitive point where they had the chance to not create a disaster, and they decided to create a disaster, like, for themselves. And yeah, they just absolutely shit the bed. It's
I'm all
phenomenal.
I'm all for COVID. Like if like COVID disruption is a real thing, no doubt. But for software development, like what? It's on. You're on the internet. What? Like, you don't, like, maybe, okay, so you can't see the whiteboard? Like, so your team lead can't be like, here's how you organize a database correctly in front of you. I don't know, man. Like, it just, you can hear it. Like, I'm just so disappointed.
Go on. I was going to say, not to hit you with the fact that your Xennial behavior is coming in there, and I know that you don't want to be either a Xennial, Gen Xer, or a Millennial. Yeah.
No, I love being a millennial.
Yeah,
I'm proud of my millennialness.
Yeah, same. I just enjoyed your message, your reply I saw earlier.
To Mr. Mike Brandt, by the way, who hopefully isn't watching me say all this. So Mike Brandt is the community lead, and also took over the lead of I think like app development or something like that. So he had some responsibility for this, but came in what I can only assume was pretty late in the cycle. I can't imagine what they had 3 months ago, if this is what they have now. Like, geez Louise. Well, it's brutal.
I can give you some indication of some stuff. So they haven't updated the Age of Sigmar app since March. So they've at least been working on it since then. But I don't know. Listen, it's a disaster. Cracking article by Goonhammer.
Oh, wow.
That was a fucking slang. Absolutely.
But it wasn't just a slang. Like, it was like a New York Times review of the Warhammer app. It was fabulous. Like, it was methodical dismantling of what a pathetic product attempt this was. The core rules are linked to a PDF in Google Drive.
Wow, so I remember having Adam, you haven't had Val on you haven't been on the show with Val yet, but like
no,
what I really enjoy is, especially just before the birth of his child, he was looking at the kind of like structure around the game industry, specifically like tabletop gaming and like the financial elements of it. Like, and we've talked on the show before about investor strength and relationships, and like, you know, and how they're going to be looking at this business from that kind of top down. So Val, there was some interesting stats that you like pulled out, like that you put online, right? There was some,
yeah.
You know, yeah. Do you want to tell us what some of them were?
Oh well, I mean, behind all of this is the fact that, so if you look at, this was some sales data I was looking at from the North American. It's like a trade magazine, and they do surveys of distributors and retailers as to what's driving sales. And so they look at the entire tabletop market, and they break it into segments. So you got your collectible card games. You have what's called non-collectible miniatures games, I think, which is where Warhammer falls into. You got board games, and you got like dice and card games, which is, I think, what like your your Underworlds falls into, and maybe some other weird games I've never heard of. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's all to say that board games and tabletop. And basically Warhammer miniatures games, tabletop wargaming, have come neck and neck now. So they're almost equal, which blew my mind. I thought that was pretty crazy. Oh, RPGs are also covered, and tabletop war games blow RPGs out of the water. Something like, I don't know, it was a lot of money. I think the whole thing was about $2 billion US,
Jeez.
and 500 million of it was tabletop wargaming. The big dog is, of course, collectible card games, Magic the Gathering and stuff, something like 700 million. So
Wow.
that is all to say that the segment that was tabletop wargaming, the non-collectible miniature segment, grew by 25% last year, and 50% of it was Games Workshop.
Wow. So what?
Like,
So
a
a 12.5% push on the market is pretty massive, right? Like, that's massive.
Well, I mean, that growth, I mean, so the growth is 25%. They're 50% of sales. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like 100% of growth. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, because they've grown their share of the pie doesn't necessarily mean everyone else did.
Yeah. I mean, like, really
That's
interesting
pretty
stuff. Go on, Adam, after you, sorry.
That is pretty staggering. I mean, how old are those figures?
It's 2019 numbers, so there's fresh stuff. We're due the annual report from Games Workshop too any day now, really. But maybe we'll just get a link to a Google Drive on that one too. Who knows?
Shit.
Well, I think the reason I bring it up, is because obviously when you relate that to where we're at with the app and its launch into the market, there's a lot of big eyes on the company now at this stage to make not only like a poor like outing. You know, I don't think we need to discuss the fact that it's poor, but what it does to the rest of the industry, really, is it really kind of, because what's also very interesting to me is because it brought loads of other things out the woodwork, which I didn't know. Like, apparently the app for War Machine is just amazing. Bolt Action have a really solid app for army list building. There's some like really big positive apps out there which are developed by really small dev teams, which I just didn't know. Obviously, you've even got like, you know, I don't know. Have you seen
Streams
any of those?
down.
I already know, babe. I know.
Oh,
it's reconnected.
sorry.
It's okay. I was just carrying on in a professional way.
Well, I didn't know if we needed to keep talking if no one's listening, but hey, I'm all shouting into the void.
Don't worry. It's the.
But yes, like the other apps, it's like, you know how sometimes they talk about in 40K, like you can pick a unit that's just a win more unit. You know, like where it doesn't necessarily give you an advantage in a different matchup. It just makes you just crush that good matchup even more. I feel like having a good app for Games Workshop is just pure win more. So like they've already probably recovered their market share from wherever it was. Although that'd be interesting to see historically where their market share has been. But anyway, I suspect they lost a lot of it and they have gobbled it all back very quickly over the last 4 years. And the app to me is just that sort of that accelerator thing that would or should enable more people to get into it more easily, allow them to run their game better, all that kind of stuff. And and the thing that really upsets me about the app is I'm not an app developer, but the way it looks like they've set up their tables sure looks like this is like a ground up problem. Like it doesn't look like something that they can just talk, like the way that the like all the wounds tables, like the degradation tables for all the vehicles are laid out, like the way it repeats the value and the name on each one of those, like as if each one is tied to that piece of information rather than just like calling up one line of a database with that information. That to me says that this is going to be a real fucking challenge to get to a place that's user friendly or anything like we would hope. We'll see.
I mean, does it matter though?
It looks put together with by people who don't fundamentally understand how to do this.
So someone made a broad sweeping statement to me that GW is very bad at doing things for the first time. Every time they launch something brand new for the first time, they usually have gotten it wrong. But then I challenged them and said, okay, name me some examples. Apart from the app, give me some stuff. He couldn't give me much. And yet, for some reason, that statement in the back of my head is like, I think that's correct. Like, but I'm trying to think of other examples. Like, it's one of those statements you
Warhammer
hear and just
Live.
like, yes.
Yeah, they hired
Okay.
Rob.
Yeah, well, huge mistake.
It's fucking
No,
talking about
but
tripping over.
no, but
Yeah.
that's a good example, right?
Oh,
Like,
Age of Sigma. Age of freaking Sigma. Thank you, chat. Perfect. Perfect
Yes.
example.
yeah, there was no
But
foresight.
if this app goes the same way of Age of Sigma, it's going to be incredible in 2 years.
But like, if you look at how this stuff has rolled out so far, like ninth edition in general, like you have those core rules. Which again, I don't know. Do you guys agree or disagree? Tightest rule set ever in Warhammer 40k. I think.
I've my personal statement about the app and everything around it is that we are better off, way better off than we were last edition because we've lost nothing. What we've got is we can still build all of our lists on Battlescribe. Excellent. Yeah, we have a tight tournament pack which everyone in the world is playing together now at once. Also great. Yeah. We've like the points are all fucked, but they always were, so cool. And the rules and the game and the missions are just better, in my opinion, obviously. So actually, we've walked through 9th edition, like absolutely singing and dancing. Like, you know, we're not tied into like an expensive app to do list building or something. Battlescribe's still there and free and kicking ass. Like, I honestly,
Wahapedia.ru, shout out.
pardon me.
Wahapedia.ru.
Yeah, also that.
The best.
So,
Like,
so
what, like, go give them, go give Verismov or whatever the fuck his name is some fucking money. Like, yes. Like, and by the way, Rob, I agree with you. And you know me. This isn't my style. I normally criticize you for sounding like me right now.
What has fatherhood done to you, Val?
It's just, I think it's like not so. Whenever the like community gets its nose out of joint, it's when Games Workshop, fairly or unfairly, just doesn't meet the very high expectations we have. And I don't think like a quality checked, like finished product is something that we shouldn't come to expect.
Or that
point.
honestly, they set this as high standard. They announced
Yes.
the future of Warhammer
Oh, man.
was the app.
Yes. And so like, and this has all been beaten to death. And thank you for allowing me to exercise these demons because it's just, you know, it's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed, you know, like I'm a dad now. So yeah, I'm just frowny faced and like, guys, come on. You can do better than this. And I really think it's a useful tool for them to just blow this game up even more. And the game is blowing. So like the thing about that like market research thing that really jumped out to me is that if they keep pace with their growth number, they catch up very quickly to Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking
was
of
it
Magic,
within 4 years? Oh,
We got a baby shot. JVP! Can we get a JVP in the chat?
JVP.
there he is.
Oh,
So excuse-
little Hef. Also, hi, Mama Hef.
Hi, Mom.
Hello.
They say. She's beautiful, everybody. But this guy's the greatest. Look at him, snoozing. What a guy.
That's right.
Oh, what a
Look
ledge.
look at that little bean.
I was a
And he's-
little rough with him.
And he's not
Yes,
an
he's
ugly
gonna be back.
baby.
He actually didn't wake up, Chad. Don't worry. The chat is very concerned for the baby. Little John did not blink in that whole thing there. So even when I allowed his head to droop far too quickly to the front.
There's a question in the chat is whether or not his middle name is the Falcon.
Maybe round 2 we can get Falcone in there somewhere.
Yeah. There's also questions whether or not he might be one of the Games Workshop app developers.
He's going to develop about as fast, I would bet.
All right. Well, okay. Well, I think the app needed to be talked about because it's a thing, but it's also now no longer a thing. It's the sad thing for Games Workshop is that you can get it ready in 2 years and it'd be great, but it's dead on arrival. Like, so my plan was, this was for me, we talked about this a lot before, and I talked about this a lot before the app ever went live. I was like, I don't know what my buying process is going to be for 9th edition 40k. I don't know if I'm going to buy the rulebook in the app, and then the codexes in the app, and then, you know, and then I migrate my kind of like knowledge base always into the app, as opposed to what it is currently, which is iTunes, where I buy the iBooks, and I use Battlescribe. That's my current process. Then I have my iPad everywhere. I've got access to all the rules, and then I've got Battlescribe for writing lists, and that's my kind of process. Whereas now, I'm going to continue to buy the codexes via iTunes, and I'm going to continue to Battlescribe. So, once I'm locked into that for 9th edition, I'm not moving, because I'm not going back and rebuying codexes. I'm not doing anything new unless they give me something extra for some way to migrate over. Does that make sense?
If I were them right now, I would say, you know what, guys, we're going to keep it out. We're going to keep developing it. We're going to, you know what? Kidding. We were kidding about that whole subscription thing, guys. It was a big joke. Actually, what we're doing right now is we want to make the best app for you possible. So we're just looking for your feedback. It's all free until it's actually worth, charging someone for. I think.
Well, if you think about why GW's been so successful in the past 3 years, it's because exactly that they've followed the community's lead and just been providing the community what they wanted. Living rule sets that change fluidly with the ebb and flow of codexes, nerfing things that are overpowered, and getting actual legitimate tournament organizers and play testers involved with the crafting of things. So why would they do anything different when this is the case, like in this case? So yeah, that's what they should do, and I hope they do it.
Yeah, and Mimer82 says, why not give them a chance? Wait till August when they update the army builder portion. If this portion is in this kind of shape, do you really think you're going to be able to build an army list that you can trust in August? I don't think so. A lot of there's typos all over the place, cut paste errors, basically. It's just not ready for prime time. So I think if they were to just be humble about it and also acknowledge it, that would go a long way for me personally. And I wouldn't if 3 days later they came out with a tongue-in-cheek Warhammer community article and were like, hey, here's what we're going to do for you. Our bad. We got ahead of ourselves. I wouldn't be talking like this 100%. I'd be talking about how, the new GW's aware of its customers and all that kind of stuff. Just acknowledge that this was a big boo-boo and then fix it.
So you are asking GW for an apology, Val?
No, I'm asking GW to acknowledge a big boo-boo for something that they hyped and everyone was super excited for.
Title of this video, Val asks Games Workshop for an apology. That's going to be the title.
Val demands apology from Games Workshop. Demands.
Okay,
in capital letters.
We all have jobs, or at least have had people that we do work for, and they give us money. And I don't know about you, but when I don't deliver, or if I screw something up, or if I hand something in and it's not what was asked for, I generally speaking will fall on my sword and say, my bad. If I got to stay up all night, I'm going to get it fixed for you. That's just sort of, customer relations. That's all. And they've been doing a really good job of that lately. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm just saying they should do something. Or just take it down and be like, our bad. We'll see you again in August and we'll try again. So, and yes, they have it. I think they have admitted boo-boos before.
I don't think they have.
I think if they're committed to this becoming what they intended it to be, they need to do exactly what you said, Val. But if they're okay with this thing languishing and playing the long game, they'll just say nothing. They'll pretend that the app doesn't exist and slowly update it, get it up to speed, which might be the better long term. Because if they did apologize and then the status quo didn't change, would it just be worse?
Well, there's also a problem. So, as you guys might be aware, it's not currently on iOS.
I think it's there now, isn't it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Wow!
Is it up on the Google?
It is on Google Play with a 1.2 star rating. But the key point, I don't know if you guys missed this, is that it's not getting onto the Apple Store because it's not passing its quality check. Because when you
a link to a Google Drive is probably a security problem.
It's not that. It's a subscription, because what they've set it up. So currently, if you subscribe through the Play Store, it sends
it's through their website.
It's through their website. So Google and iTunes aren't getting their 30% cut. so they're not letting them have it. Anyway.
So how are they even on Google?
Well, because Google let anything go up, but then they take a bunch of stuff down.
But then they rip it down. Well, apparently they did. I was told that they had taken it down at one point. So maybe I was wrong.
Well, the awesome thing too was on their own website. There was no unsub button. So once you
yes, you are trapped. We have you now.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to also underscore this with the fact that even though I don't think I'm gonna get to play a game of Warhammer in a very long time, which is fine. I really like my son. I'm still buying a bunch of stuff. I got the new rule book is being mailed to me. I'm like excited to I bought some glue. I'm gonna glue some stuff together. So like, it's not all bad. It's just like, I think they can do better than this, and that's really what my point is.
I don't think it's bad at all. I've been glowing about this edition. Like even though I got my ass handed to me last week by the goddamn Noise Marines of Nyx, I still had a great time, and I'm really excited for this edition. That said, though, what you building there, Adam?
This is my show and tell for today.
More Horus Heresy?
No, this is my Emperor's Champion for my Black Templars. It's Sigismund, as I like to call him.
Ooh.
Oh, very nice.
Such a gorgeous model.
It is great.
I'm painting up for my show and tell a biologist putrefier, which so my Death Guard, I'm trying to get them done. They're pretty fun. But since then, not only have we had the app's come out, we also had the points.
What do I do now?
Oh yeah, show it. What have you got? An Invictus
What do you got?
warsuit.
What you got?
A little warsuit. Hold on.
An Invictus lame suit.
I hear the internet loves this.
What, ASMR?
It's two impulsors and a repulsor. That's all it is.
Okay.
Which I found, by the way, just sitting on a shelf in a hobby shop in Georgetown, Ontario.
Oh, nice.
Who just has an impulsor sitting around at this point?
Well, no one, because we had a whole bunch of new announcements, didn't we? We've had new points, so new news this week. There's loads of stuff. There's new points. There is FAQs for a whole bunch of the Psychic Awakening stuff. We also heard the announcement of, I'll let you guys jump in on any of these in a moment, announcement of Space Marine and Necron Codex, but not till October, which seems a long way. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Lots to unpack on that. And that sounds like a COVID problem, and that's fine.
And then also, we have heard that there's going to be a new Space Marine tank, which looks the same as the other two tanks.
But it's got a turret on it. It's a Malibu Stacy with the new hat.
Yo, fuck both you guys. Do you guys not realize that we've been buying Malibu Stacy with a new hat in the form of a rhino for
whole
40 years?
Lives. How many drop pods do you guys own? I've got 6. Dude,
are you kidding me? Are you really? You don't like it?
I like it. I think it's great.
I like it. I like it, but I think it looks the same as all the other ones.
It's the same chassis.
I tell you what it does. It looks like mine and Adam's dating history. It's just like, it's kind of the same. You get it.
Speak for yourself. I range wide fields. All fields.
Damaged, but getting better over time.
There you go. I don't know. I just like the cover, the back of the Impulse. At least it's literally not a rhino with a turret and sponsons. It's like the Impulsor has that open like El Camino back, which is rad. I can't wait to build it.
That you can fit literally one model in. It's great.
Hey.
It's supposed to have 6 dudes in it.
True scale Marines are cool. True scale Marines are cool. True scale vehicles, not cool. Because there would be room for one of them on a table.
Yeah, you're right.
How
big would a repulsor be?
Jesus.
Ridiculous.
Like a Baneblade? Give me a break.
It would have to be. And a Baneblade would be, whatever.
You can tell how ridiculous they'd be just by the size of a Valkyrie, which is true scale.
Valkyries are huge, man.
Valkyries that's why they're so big, is because they're actually true scale. You could fit 10 dudesmen in the back. Well, 10 Elysians in the back.
Nick's got a really good question talking about the tank. Is the tank a grav? The transport is grav. All of that's quite heavy, grav. But the bikes are not grav.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it's funny. Man. There's a good meme on that one, which is sort of like what was it? It was like Call being like, oh, actually, fucking Pete did this joke on this show like a month ago. Rewind if you want to. Essentially, Call making that exact bit happen. How about the fact that the blurry photo of that land speeder. I can't wait for the Primaris land speeder. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well,
That is the one I want the most.
Yes, big time. Big. Gimme. I don't know why. I love land speeders so much.
why? What is it? Is it because it's because of the best Star Wars film, Star Wars 1, with pod racing? Is that why?
I hate your guts.
Me too.
It's the best one. It's the best one. Darth Maul, pod racing, Jar Jar, Gungans, best one. What even happens
Darth
in
Maul's
number 2?
Everything else is trash. I don't know. Dooku? They managed to get Christopher Lee into a movie. They should be praised for this. You know, any reason to get Christopher Lee into it is worth it. His fight with Yoda was, my eyes hurt. I was just like, oh wow, this is painful. The fuck is happening?
I had a really in-depth conversation about Star Wars was my first love, and the Grimdark took it over because Star Wars just continually broke my heart. And I think you can see actually the 40K fandom, because Games Workshop's been feeding it really well, where we get unruly every now and again, but they just keep stuffing really good stuff in there. So if you get a turd every now and again, it's fine. But Star Wars has been feeding its fans shit for 25 years or 20 years.
Yeah, at least 40 years.
So what I don't understand with the new movies and the old ones too is the idea of I understand character continuity. I understand having a canon timeline. What is with actor continuity? Why does Han Solo have to be Harrison Ford? That doesn't happen in anything else. Why do we have to have a CGI version of Grand Moff Tarkin, the actor of which died in the 90s? Why? It's just so dumb. If there was a franchise, that franchise should have been rebooted. I don't know why they didn't just start it fresh and just use the expanded universe. Just again, why? I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
But
I just don't know why they went with the storylines that they did when they had Thrawn and those incredible stories to go with.
Yeah, there's so many things.
I read those books when I think I was in my early teens, 11, 12, 13. And I was just like, this is just really good stuff. This is stuff that feels as good as the original trilogy. And then we got what we got, and I was like, this is not good stuff. This is not as good as the original trilogy.
No, because those guys were actual science fiction writers. Timothy Zahn and such. I don't know if they ever wrote anything crazy good, but they were published sci-fi guys. So Dan Abnett for 40K, right? He was a published comic book writer. He's done other stuff. Yeah. He was an actual legitimate author. And then he applied that to the universe of 40K, and it was really cool. And boom, you have this whole cottage industry of Warhammer books. And I think the same thing happened with Star Wars. And then for some reason, Disney was like, yeah, we paid $1 billion for all of this, but we're just going to throw it in the garbage.
I think they paid 4.
Or what? Yeah,
4
whatever.
billion.
Right? Yeah. But, it's strange.
Pointed out Scott B __ Rogue One was sick. Rogue One is still sick. Rogue One is, in my mind, better than Return of the Jedi.
Oh, well, Return of the Jedi, watching it from the jaded perspective instead of as a kid, I was like, oh my God, this is the Phantom Menace of the original trilogy. This is for children. When Hasbro's executives got to sit next to the director of the movie.
Thumb on the back of George Lucas's head. $200 million more.
So yeah, but I think what the big problem Star Wars has is it's a really small world with big characters, which is not what I think science fiction is about. It's about big world, small characters. If that makes any sense. So for example, in the first one in this new 3 movies, whatever it was called, they're running through the desert, and so far it's I've been drawn in. I'm cool, and they're running through this desert town, and they're oh look, the Millennium Falcon with the doors open and the keys in the ignition, and they just run into it, and then they're in outer space and they run into Han Solo. They just run into him. Fuck you guys. Come on. Yeah. Anyway.
Well,
I was just of the opinion that they.
Go on, Adam. Sorry.
At every turn, they had the choice to put effort into their storytelling, and they were like, "Nah, just make it work. Nah, just make it work." Just make it work. Whatever. Just make it work.
And yet, you're saying it was good films. I'm so confused by this. Like, you're so conscious that they're bad. Yeah, Rogue One is a terrible film. Structurally, cinematographer, like all of it is terrible. Rogue One is start to finish shit. And you talk to them like, what is good about it? They go, you seen that last scene? I'm like, it's not even a good last scene. It's not. Like, listen, the best last scene is the end scene of Constantine. Yeah, with Keanu Reeves. Bet you didn't even know there's a last scene in Constantine. Bet you didn't know that. Yeah, that's
which last scene? Where him standing, looking out, and he goes to looks like he's cracking a pack of ciggies, but it's gum.
No, there's a scene after the credits.
Ah, okay.
This is where I disappoint Rob by admitting to not knowing what he's talking about.
Who, me?
Yes. But I mean, like, to me, like, Rogue One, again, was like, the plot of it is like they're part of a very much bigger thing going on. So to me, there was more imagination happening. They weren't like the whole universe wasn't in that movie. There was like this whole thing happening in the background that they were a part of. I even kind of I kind of liked Solo. Like, I had no real qualms with it because they were cruising through the galaxy doing stuff. And like, you were in the world of Star Wars. You weren't just like, I don't know, following Harrison Ford around, so I don't know. Let's move on. There's lots of cool 40K stuff to talk about.
We've been told we've gone too adjacent. Last week we weren't adjacent enough. This week we're too adjacent. Make up your mind, viewership. Yeah. Like, what do you want?
Well, so you guys like the tanks. Okay, we've covered that. Points and updates for Engine War with some new stuff that we saw. And I'm very excited because Gazgul can now run and charge.
He can.
Yes.
And he, if I'm not mistaken, he now affects the keyword monster, which I think is the first monster keyword interaction in the Orc book, which means, that's right, guys, buckle up. Gargantuan Squiggets can advance and charge.
Yeah, baby.
Booyah. / no one cares.
Yeah,
I care. I've used Gazgul in a couple of games now, and he's been MVP.
Oh, not Gazgul. I'm talking about the Gargantuan Squiggets. I'm the only one who really cares about them.
Okay.
I love those big idiots.
Thanks to chat for helping me know cinema terms. I appreciate that a load. If your taste is gonna suck this much, Rob, why don't you just play Tau? Yeah. Well, so there's been some good. Adam, you surely would know some of this. Has there been some really interesting clarity on any of the FAQs? Some stuff that's some big changes.
I thought I had a good army in Dark Angels. I thought it was like, yes, finally, my time has come. I get to be broken for a little bit because I was looking forward to Dark Angels Psychic and Awakening for like a year, and we got it, and it was like a week too late. Sorry, it was like a month too late for me to use the LVO. So all the armies I brought to the LVO were like useless, but I streamed it anyway, so it doesn't give a shit. But freaking, we were about to have impeccable mobility become one of the best, literal best or a best warlord traits in the game. And then we're like, it's just like the Doctrines. We got it for a week, and then they were like, nah, we don't like you. We took it away and just took a big old shit on it. I will say that's okay.
What did it do?
So it changed all. If you advanced within 6 inches of this dude, all your weapons became assault weapons. E.g., you all of a sudden you had Dev Doctrine for turn 1, and then all your stuff that advanced next to this guy got tactical for the next 2 turns.
Nice.
So you'd have 3 turns of Doctrines again. And on top of that, you could technically make the sniper Talon Master as well, because you could have a guy that could shoot characters with assault weapons. And so if you had assault weapons, you could just be a sniper.
It's like the Elysians had that too with grenades. So like they turned all their grenades assaults. You could throw their grenades. Yeah.
So it was going to be genuinely powerful. It was going to be genuinely like a game changer for Dark Angels. We'd have a real powerful top build that could contend with anybody. And like, nah, mate, nah.
Oh,
sorry.
They took it away.
Yeah.
Maniacs. Blew it up.
Blow, you bastards. You monsters, you blow it up.
Damn you. Yeah.
Damn you. Oh, yeah, orcs. Getting back to what really matters.
Fuck you.
There was a great little Tempest in a Teapot because for some reason they FAQ'd that you needed to play the Mech Boy Workshop in order to use custom jobs.
Yes. So funny.
Which was so like, they probably meant it. Like 100%, that was not an accident. And then they were like, okay, that was mean. Okay, we'll fix that one in post. Because they're mean to orcs. They took away the KFF, but that makes sense. That's the way it's
Only
been.
in combat, though.
Only in combat, yeah.
Oh, that's
I wish
fine.
it was just within. Why does Ironfather Pharos get to give his save to everyone at all times, but orcs they can't? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Stop
Well,
complaining.
It's I think we're fine. I think we're fine. We did a bit of a breakdown on Thursday where we talked about like units that we're gonna maybe try and use out for scoring the primary. Me, Nick, and Tom. No, sorry, me, Dick, and Nick actually. It was really fun because we started like exploring some stuff, and I really got into battle wagons. I was like, actually,
Oh yeah,
they're gonna be really good for scoring the primary, I reckon. So very hyped for those.
battle wagons like before the codex. It's just something super handy about like a really low threat brick of 18 toughness 8 wounds. Like it's very useful. Like it winds up getting cut a lot of the time, but I've never really regretted having a battle wagon in my list, to be honest.
No, I think also like based on like my experience with the game so far, like scoring those primaries and pushing up the board quite early is really fun. So run and charge gas, battle wagons, definitely a thing, which was fun. The FAQ seemed to like deal with some of the Mechanicus issues as well, which was good. But it's nice to see some of those elements. But they said on Facebook that the Mech Boy Workshop needed. So initially it's like you need a Met Boy Workshop for custom jobs, but then one of the community team posted on Facebook that was going to be changed and is no longer true. So no one.
Which would make sense. Like that'd be a real mean thing to do to the orcs. But anyway, what I was going to ask is perhaps Adam, Mr. Meta over here. There's been since like as ninth was approaching, the like pre-ninth hype was like AdMech, out of control, ballers. They're gonna be so awesome. But there's been a few knocks against them since, like they lost their Vigilance detachment, and I don't know what just happened in the facts. So like, are they still hot shit, or have they cooled a bit? And also, their points were released, and there were some inflations in their points.
So if no points had changed, they could have taken every hit they took, and could still take 3 or 4 more hits and be fine. And like literally, as long as the Ballistari, and I don't know if the Ballistari actually changed, but as long as the Scorpius and the transport stayed the same, all those things stayed the same, the troops, Cataphrons, etc. stayed the same, they could take most hits and just keep rolling with it. The points have really caused a bit of a reevaluation for AdMech. And also on top of that, the missions. So they wanted to be playing this style of mission. Sorry, they wanted to play 8th edition missions. AdMech would roll the absolute ungodly shit out of anybody on ITC missions. You just could not contend because they were more resilient than you, and they outshot you at every possible profile that you could do. So on those terms, I thought running into 9th, they were the best army in the game, bar none, no comparison. 9th edition rules, I'm not sure how they compensate now. The loss of the Vigilance attachment is actually quite big because I know a couple of guys I was talking about were just simply thinking, oh, we could just take 40 Cataphron breaches with a 4+ invuln, 5+ feel no pain. No one has enough turns to kill them, and they're backed up by Onagers and all this other crazy 5-power Ballistari, which I think is probably Ballistari might be the biggest sleeper unit in the game at the moment. No one is giving that unit the respect it's due. That thing is the best. I think it's the best shooting unit there is. The only thing that screws with it is stuff that ignores Ren 2. Anything else, it just will auto delete. It just bang on.
With the autocannons.
The autocannon one?
Yeah, so the Iron Strider Ballistari for AdMech
so
with
good.
the autocannons. I mean, the natural ability to add +1 to hit is nice. Super mobile as well. Good gun platforms. They're pretty potent.
Also,
really
they're like the most grimdark BDSM model in the game.
Surely not. Surely that's the priests with the jazz hands. You know, you ever seen those fetish gloves with all the twirls and studs and stuff on the fingers? You know,
I haven't got my Australian leather catalog yet this year, so
I'll post it to you.
Excellent, thank you. COVID delay,
but yeah, AdMech is still up there. I think though the AdMech build, I think they're back at the drawing board though. The AdMech build that's going to make them contenders again hasn't been written yet, to my mind. And I think it's troops in termites, to be honest. Troops in termites. I think they're, for what you get for a a transport Dune Strider compared to a Termite. The Termite is just hands down better in every way. I think it's only 20 to 30 points difference for going from toughness 6 to toughness 8, more wounds, deep strike potential, melee potential, better guns, and not paying the amazing hefty heavy stub attacks that Admech got slogged with 3 times harder than everybody else. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think there is an AdMech list that will be a top contender, a top A plus STR list, but I'm not sure it's been written yet. I think more games need to happen.
Well, there's some really interesting stuff happening at the minute. I think with the pre-game move armies, there's a bit of a race to the side where everyone's like, I want my Cerberus Hounds, my Nurglings, my Invictus Warsuits. I think I think Adam's point that everyone is like, I think everyone was always looking at the points, thinking about the old missions, which is why the very first show that we did was about the missions. I was like, this is the game, like understand this, and everything since then has just been re-engineering like my armies or my ideas of the armies into those missions, and it's a big change around, right? Like it's very interesting. If you found, because Val, you've got that Invictus Warsuit right there. That's not by happenstance, right?
Well, no, coming in like my Marines are painted as Raptors, so like I like all the Phobos stuff, and I've always liked the war suits. I have 3 of them, but one of them I bought secondhand, and the guy never gave me the pilot for it, and the heavy bolter was missing, and I was like, hey, can you just send me that stuff? And he's just ghosted me for 6 months, so I was just like, I'm just gonna buy a new one. I'm having a kid. I'm just going to get another warsuit. So I don't know. I've always loved them, and I've often ran them as Raven Guard, but it's fun to run them as anything. I really like that. I'm kind of curious to know. I kind of want to run things as White Scars for a little while. Yes, Raptors are awesome color scheme.
Beautiful color scheme.
Army green. This is actually something I want to throw out there on the point of Phobos and just board controls. Who can Marines could just own the table in the deployment phase.
Yeah.
Without breaking a sweat. They can deploy pretty good, tough, durable things right into the middle, and then they've got mobility in their transports to get wherever they want to go. Is there something to for example, infiltrators, for example, with their 12-inch bubble. There's this great Goonhammer article. It was actually weird. It was part of their Hammer
it was really good
series.
You posted it up, Val. I actually read that today as well because I saw you looked at it, and it was really interesting, wasn't it? The sheer amount of board you could zone at the moment. It really makes you fearful for heavy deep strike armies. This is one reason I think
it's not going to work.
No, it's not. Armies that rely heavily on deep strike mechanics, e.g., Scions, Scions, Custodes, some demon bombs, things of that ilk. I just don't think they're going to have a thing. I think you want some niche characters here or there, like a Blood Angel Smash Captain as a toolbox unit.
Something you can squeeze in somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't want a big footprint army, big footprint anything in reserve anymore.
You could already zone people out in 8th, and now the table's that much smaller. I don't see if they maybe if they made the deployment zone rules for all table edges so that you could always come in. That's maybe something. I don't know, but the strategic reserve thing I think is a bit moot because with 10 infiltrators you can pretty much stop anyone from coming off the board, no problem.
I think the turn 1 flood from Marines is going to be very real, and very serious. They're going to throw things into your lines, and then they're going to jump onto those objectives. But actually, if you look at the board spaces and where the objectives are, it's actually the counterpunch. I know there's a lot of shooting is this edition, this is all shooting, but I don't think that it's really been taken into account how much stuff is going to move on to an objective. And the other thing is if you have armies that rush onto objectives early, which we're going to see be able to be done, what you're then going to see is you're going to need to push them off, not shoot them off, push them off an objective. So I feel there's a real scalability in combat. It's honestly, and this is why I am so excited for this edition. I think that there is loads of counterplay at army list building that isn't like army list design beats yours end game. Like meta prediction and like understanding the game state as you get to the tabletop. Okay, so like I'm playing this Marine army. He's got a lot of Phobos stuff, so he's going to flood early, jump onto those objectives. What do I do? Well, my Terminators aren't going to go into deep strike. They're just going to plonk on the board, and I'm just going to countercharge turn one, beat up all that frontliner stuff, and then go into like his midfield. Like, so it's really fun. Like, it might not work out that way, but like right now, it feels like the whole game is this amazingly open exercise of thought, which I'm enjoying.
I don't know how you get around like durable units sitting on objectives and just being unable to move them. Like
that's I was about to say, like, the reason I think where people are saying the Custodes and Death Guard are very good, and this is what we thought AdMech was going to be as well, is because they had the legitimate ability to get to objectives before you and be imposing. E.g., really hard to shift, or it takes an overcommitment of resources on your opponent's part to get one objective back. I think that's Marines are sitting in the same place as well. I don't know why. So I know everyone's talking about White Scars and White Scars being insanely powerful. To me, Raven Guard still is just singing in my head, like the amount of just sheer density of jank you can pull off. White Scars obviously has the front line, the straight up and down frontline power. Iron Hand still has the reliability and the durability, but man, for sheer like wacky crazy stuff you can do, Raven Guard just seem to have all the bag of tricks. Now I will contest one thing you guys said when you were saying that deep strike mechanics don't work as well as we think they will. I agree with that, with the exception of strategic reserves. I think G-Dub might have foreseen this because they let you walk into combat from reserve in your deployment zone, from a strategic reserve.
Your deployment zone.
Yeah, I know it's not great, but at least it's something. There is a way around it.
Sure. So you're not gonna have that like meme where the guy like parked all the Kroot on the back edge and turn one, right? Because the guy null deployed or whatever. But and that's what I was saying. Like maybe later on in the edition, we like this does like counter strategic reserves becomes an issue, and they allow you to come in on any edge right into combat if you want.
No. Well, interestingly, I played Nick. So to give you an example of me getting my absolute dick hammered, not in a fun way, I played Nick the other day, and he had 20 Noise Marines. Now, what I really needed to do, and in my army list, I really need to be able to stop this, is he took an incredibly potent shooting unit, removed it from the board with the strategic reserves, and then at some turn brought them on and just cleared anything within 24 inches, pretty much. Like, he took out like 3 Castellan robots in one shooting phase, and then in the next shooting phase, he took out my whole army, basically. And we had like loads of line of sight blocking terrain all around the board. It was really good. But the valuable lesson that I learned from that was I needed to push up further and push him further back. Wherever I pushed him back, that pushing line was still going to just get blitzed by those noise breeds like all day, every day. Like, I don't know what really stands up against them. But even he can just always strategic reserve those into his own backfield and then start shooting. If you give the option, I bet there are probably other shooting units you could do the same thing to as well. Although the Slanesh shoot twice thing seems very strong. But anything where you can just be like, I'm going to bring on this shooting unit and it is going to just unload all my CP and all my shots. Giving that the ability to also do that into my backlines, I think would be a huge mistake, because you could put 12 Cataphrone destroyers with the plasma shots, and you could just put them in strategic reserve, bring them on, and then you could just unload 12d6 plasma shots anywhere. Sort of like, that's just a shitty shooting example I can think of. Like, I'm sure there are other versions that. And like
with a 30-inch, like basically threat range off the back edge, and if you're in whichever the one is that's like this, not like this, hammer and anvil. Anyway, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Like, that's actually another cool thing in this article, actually, Rob, which is essentially showing where the safe zones are on the table. So, like, because they shrunk down the size, like, for example, where you can be positioned on the table and not be charged is actually a pretty small little slice of the board in both deployment zones. Sorry, both deployment types. So that's kind of a cool thing that they did. And if instead of it being a 12-inch reach, you have a 30-inch reach like you would with Noise Marine shooting, because I think they're 24-inch plus 6. That's what I'm doing in my head anyway.
24 inches.
Yeah.
Then like, yeah, you're right. There's not going to be a lot of places to hide. However, like that's like a shooting thing coming in from reserves. I think a lot of people are thinking about like, what can I like cowabunga from outer space, or what can I, what space wolfen can I like bring in and charge. I think like that stuff can be counterplayed pretty effectively, especially with armies like Marines out there that will be able to zone you out without breaking a sweat. And one thing I wanted to ask of your opinions is like of infiltrators, which are like the most expensive troop choice that Marines have. Yeah. But like for 5 points, they can be rerolling everything and wounds, because like assuming you have a Phobos captain and a Phobos lieutenant. They can combat squad if you really need to use them for zoning out every corner of the board. They can deploy obviously in the middle, and they have a pretty decent weapon that will be getting -1 for at least 2 turns of the game. Seem good. Like they seem like a really essential piece. I know intercessors are probably a little bit more durable for the points on an objective or something like that, but like, are infiltrators gonna become something?
What's the points difference between them and incursors? Because I know I've heard a lot of people talking incursors up.
21 to 24. I think it's 3. You're basically paying 3 points
difference.
Yeah.
So, and the differences there is that the incursors are technically better in combat. They have the dual blades, and they also get to use the weird haywire mine on objectives they're sitting on as well. So you're adding an extra deterrent for people to take it. But you're giving up the crazy ass war specs, so the 12-inch denial. But with a smaller board, do you need the 12 inches, or will a 5-man of well placed like incursors do the same job? I think that's the question.
Well, I was playing a friend, and granted, we were just messing around, but like I had infiltrators and I had the Phobos captain, so all of them have that 12-inch denial bubble.
Yeah,
and he was playing Custodes, and he had like this like just monster of a unit. He had a Telemann, and he had the Alaris Terminators in Deep Strike.
Yes.
And the thing is, with infiltrators, it just made me invulnerable to him dropping in and charging me before he cleared those problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was probably a play for him to make it so that those bubbles didn't exist, but he really needed to solve that, because what he wound up doing was coming down and then realizing, oh shit, I can't do anything. Like I can't even declare the things I want to declare, and I got to roll boxcars plus whatever. They get some bonuses to charge. So like that's kind of what I realized is like that 12-inch is valuable, because if it's something that's going to kamikaze you out of Deep Strike, and they have some sort of bonus to charge, which a lot of things that are going to try and do that will, except for like orcs. Then like you've got like I think that is a pretty big advantage, because it just eliminates that as a possibility. Like you're just safe from Deep Strike charge.
So here's Adam's top tip of the day. If you are that Custodes player playing into infiltrators, you just deploy the Alaris, move in advance from turn 1, and then use Unleash the Lions, because each single 1 to 2 of those Alaris can take down 5 of those incursors or infiltrators, no problems. And then once you're on the objectives with just like, let's say you put 3 single unit, single model Alaris on an objective, each one of those could be, ignoring AP2, or, they've all got cover already. They're all -1 to hit. Each one of them could be buffing in a bunch of different ways. It is such an absolute mindfuck for your opponent. Like, where's the meme about with the lady's got all the cogs turning in her head?
Yeah.
Like, trying to work out the right distribution of resources to remove 3 Alaris from an objective. Like, I don't want to be doing that. That sounds horrible.
Keeping them all together and buffing the shit out of them, like despite the fact that like I shot at them for a full turn with like 3 war suits and a Redemptor, like I barely dented, like I barely scratched him. I was like, oh man, I still got fucked. Like I still lost somehow. Like this is crazy.
I'm gonna plug here, Rob, because I just recorded a 3-hour episode of Art of War Down Under with John Lennon, where we just deep dove nothing but Custodes for 3 hours.
Well, I was going to ask you. I was actually going to ask how the launch of the podcast was going.
It's gone freaking well, man. Better than expected. It's very humbling. I struggle a lot with self-sabotaging and undermining my own success. I find it very hard to pat myself on the back. But man, it's going really well, and I'm really grateful for the community support. It's been fantastic.
Because of those short arms.
That's great. That's great.
The arms
and again, that's the Art of War 40k Down Under. Is that right?
Art of War Down Under 40k. Yeah, there's no 40k in it. It's just Art of War Down Under. You can find us on Facebook. We'll be starting up Twitch content when events start in Australia again. And yeah, got a got a two-part podcast of the similar ilk to a regular Art of War. First part, we take a piece of content released by G-Dub, either that could be an FAQ, could be a rules pack, could be a codex, could be a psychic awakening for a faction. Break it down. In the first part, first part is pretty much all informative, just from a top level meta and macro whatever perspective. Break down all the new rules, all the new items, all the new FAQs and everything, and give you all the information in number one, and number two we put into practice. So we write lists with it. We go through secondaries, how you want to play it on the table, what are good matchups, bad matchups, what detachments you want to take, everything from CP expenditure to filling out detachments with the right amount of units. It's pretty deep, and hopefully it's stuff people are enjoying. Valerie, yes, there are 2 episodes up on iTunes and should be on Spotify and the rest of those places. But if you want to get them ahead of time. So I recorded with John Lennon yesterday, and for our patrons, both those episodes were up today. And those aren't going to be released until next Thursday for Americans.
For Americans. Because they don't have internet in other parts of the world.
And
For everyone else.
They can't read. So I have a couple follow-up questions from the floor here. As a Art of War, and now somehow Art of War Down Under patron.
Thank you, Val. Yes.
That's $5 US dollars, by the way. So it ain't nothing. All right. It's a lot of money for Canadian. Yeah. Look, the point I'm trying to make here is, one, what is the real difference between you and Art of War? Or do you just think that there's enough there for and there's a lot of good 40K brains being showcased between the two shows, but what is there a difference between the two shows, or is it just like there's so much to cover, we can do we're actually content a week, no problem.
Down Under Network ceased to be, and we became Art of War Down Under. So we became the Australian branch of Art of War. We're still our own entity, got our own business, our own ABN, propriety, whatever the shit. So me and Diffie technically own Art of War Down Under. It's our own brand. It's me and Diffie, and we are affiliated with Art of War. So we technically be doing our own thing, but with full transparency, full sharing of knowledge and resources between the two organizations. So they lean on us, we lean on them for stuff. We could merge those later down the track, but at the moment we're just kind of technically the same brand, but we're two different organizations, if that makes sense. And there's more than enough content to be going around. And one thing good players like doing is talking about being good at 40K. And so I'm leveraging the shit out of that, because these guys won't shut up, and I'm gonna get them in to talk.
Especially Australians who have the chip on their shoulder that no one likes them. So,
shut up, Val. Mr. Man. Just because you got born in Canada, you got born in the colony that everyone likes. I got born in the one that's on fire. Fuck you.
Well, it's just, geographic isolation, generally speaking, lends itself to not being heard a lot of the time. Second, my other follow-up question would be, on the regular Art of War, there's a secret patron download link so that the podcast feeds without me having to go into Patreon. Does that exist for Art of War Down Under?
It does. You mean an RSS feed?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Yep, I set that up. I think it was 3 or 4 days ago. I actually didn't know it was a thing until someone's asked me, what's an RSS? Do you have an RSS feed? I'm like, huh. I was like, hello, guys. What is an RSS feed? And they're like, oh, you got to tick this box. And I was like, all right, the box is ticked. So it should be fine, man.
Toggle the diggle. Excellent.
Just tick the box. Well, I'm really glad about that, and everyone should go check that out because Adam's great. But I have to go, and therefore we all have to go. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. We're wearing each other's shirts.
Well, no, I'm so sorry, but I literally have £0, and someone's offering to buy me a coffee in the next 5 minutes. So unless I go, I'm not allowed to have coffee for the entire day. So. There you go. Right, but it's been a pleasure having you both on, Val.
Absolutely.
And Adam. Hopefully we'll see you both next week. There you go. There we go. For more news, you can join me again tomorrow, where I'll be talking to the wonderful Sam Morgan about his opinions on the GHB. If you haven't listened to Sam, by the way, he's also an Aussie.
He's an Aussie. He's a good man.
Yeah, he's a wonderful man from the Dwellers Below. He'll be chatting to me tomorrow. It's been a pleasure talking to you both. You guys got any shout-outs before we leave?
Shout out to JV Poot. And who knows if I'll be back again, but it was nice. He fed literally an hour before the show started, so it was perfect time.
Okay, good. Adam, you got anything?
Shout out to Pete. Shout out to Valfred. Shout out to everyone in the chat. And shout out to anybody who's supporting my rickety ass in these new endeavors. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you should. Adam's a great dude, so please go check him out. It's been a pleasure. Podcast guys, drink your water, and also Patreon guys couldn't literally live without you. And also shout out to Gozzy. He's great. Bye.